I've got to say I'm one very proud senator for Western Australia. Whilst there are obviously a multitude of reasons for that pride in our great state of Western Australia, we are again as a state doing what we absolutely do best, working together to transform our economy to take advantage of new industrial opportunities in our state. In the late 1800s it was gold. Throughout the 1900s it was agriculture, iron ore, oil and gas, and today it is becoming defence industry. We're a state built on opportunity, on enterprise, on ingenuity and on exploration. But because of our isolation, we've never really had a choice. The state government has also always worked hand in hand with industry to develop new commercial opportunities. Most recently, these qualities have been focused on the resources sector and have provided enormous national prosperity and wealth for our nation. Today, Western Australia is an economy in transition from resources construction, and by my latest count, over $250 billion worth of investment has gone into the Pilbara region alone. So we've gone from resources construction, focusing now on mining production. And contrary to the harbingers of doom in this place and in the media, the resources boom is far from over, as we are now exporting more than we ever have from Western Australia. As a result of the new opportunities that are opening up in the defence sector, and as a transitioning economy, we are now rapidly turning our considerable competitive advantages in Western Australia to the defence industry. And we're in the process of breaking the decades-old grip states such as South Australia and other eastern seaboard states have had on defence industry. And we're doing that simply by showing just how good we are as a state. But, Mr Acting Deputy President, if you'd asked anyone 18 months ago what WA was capable of in the defence sphere, you would most likely have been met with an almost blank stare. In fact, when I first started talking on radio about our own homegrown commercial shipbuilding capabilities, callback listeners actually rang in and said I was mad. Of course we didn't build ships in Western Australia. How ludicrous was that thought? But how things have changed in such a short period of time. So why is Western Australia so well placed now to deliver significant defence capability for the next 50 years and beyond? Some little-known facts I'd like to share with my colleagues in this place today. Today, Western Australia is already home to over 180 small to medium enterprises who already have defence contracts worth more than $624 million, and many of whom are small companies employing 5 or less staff. Also, a little-known fact in this place is that Western Australia is already home to most of the large defence primes based here in Australia, and they have extensive footprints already in Western Australia. Our steel fabrication capability is the largest by far in Australia. Today we produce 190,000 tonnes of steel per annum, with the ability to deliver up to 350,000 tonnes per annum. So, contrary to those over east who say that high-end manufacturing is dead in Australia, West Australia is absolute proof that that is simply not true. Currently, we produce billions of dollars of manufactured goods for our oil, gas and mining sectors, but a little-known fact is that currently West Australia already exports well over $20 billion worth of high-end manufactured goods every year, without a subsidy in sight. In fact, over the last 14 years, while manufacturing has increased at a miserly 0.4% nationally, in Western Australia, manufacturing has increased by nearly 5% every year for almost 14 years. That is a significant capability. And, Mr Acting Deputy President, even one of our senior ministers didn't know that little fact about Western Australia. So not only are we home to a large and capable manufacturing base, we also have the most experienced and the largest manufacturing workforce in Australia. We have not only a wide range, in fact nearly 80,000 very experienced tradesmen and women, we also have a very large engineering and related employment base. Another fact is that outside of Silicon Valley, we have the second highest numbers of engineers per head of population than any other place in the world, and we have that right here, right in Perth. But WA is also home to Australia's largest marine complex at Henderson, just south of Perth, whereas if asked, most people in this chamber would probably say it's Techport in South Australia, but it is not. It is actually Henderson. So at Henderson, we have many fine shipbuilders and manufacturers. We already maintain the Colin Cast submarines at ASC West. BAE Systems are undertaking the refit of the entire fleet of Anzac frigates, and Austal has already constructed the new Border Force fleet. And as many in this chamber actually do know, that Austal is now producing naval vessels for other countries right at Henderson, and again, all without a government subsidy to be seen. But another advantage Western Australia has is not only do we manufacture fabulous products and we build ships, but we don't just do it for the Navy, we do it commercially as well, which is something that no other state can boast. But yet, Mr Acting Deputy President, there is a lot more West Australia has to offer. The innovation that has driven the oil and gas sector, that has driven the iron ore industry and has overseen decades of state and nation building, is now being directed in Western Australia towards building our defence industries. And what an amazing capability we have now to offer defence industry in Australia. On a personal note, I am very proud to have been able to utilise my defence experience and links to benefit directly to my state. And I'm particularly proud to have co-founded the WA Defence Industry Council, which has already made significant inroads into bringing more defence industry to Western Australia. But I think the most important thing for me is that the council we've established is a real testament to what can happen when passionate people, we actually get together with a common goal. And in this case, it's the federal government representatives, the state governments and local industry getting together with a common purpose in mind: create new jobs for our state, create job security and also future prosperity. And I'd like to pay tribute to the Premier of Western Australia and his key ministers, who have now thrown themselves into making sure that we bring many more defence industries to Western Australia. But I think it's also important to note that it's also a testament of what we can do together when we talk ourselves up instead of continually talking ourselves down. But a critically important enabler for the West Australian expansion into the defence industry has been a change in approach by this federal government, and in particular the commitment by Minister Pyne and the Capability Acquisition and Sustainment Group, led by, very ably by Mr Kim Gillis. They have taken a new approach to engagement with Australian industry and to ensuring that they open up the supply chain to all Australian companies who have something to offer defence capability. So, Mr Acting Deputy President, the opportunities for Western Australia are significant, they are real, and I've never been more optimistic than I am today about the future of this industry in my state. Not only have we now been named the second naval shipbuilding hub for Australia's Navy capacity, with the large surface combatants being built in Adelaide, but now the minor surface combatants will be built in Western Australia, and the majority of the fleet is likely to be sustained in Western Australia, which is 50 years of job certainty and economic prosperity for our state. And as a former Army officer, I now have a particular interest in seeing a significant proportion of Phase 2 of Land 400 project looking very closely and potentially moving to Western Australia. Opportunities exist not only for Perth-based companies, but now for rural and regional companies throughout Western Australia who have an opportunity to engage in the supply chain. As these projects mature, it is important we continue to build relationships with international companies seeking to establish a base in Australia. And last week alone, the WA Minister for Commerce, Michael Mission, led a delegation to Germany, France and the Netherlands with the Chamber of Commerce CEO Deirdre Wilmot. They briefed shortlisted bidders for the offshore patrol vessels and the designer of the future submarines DCNS. Mr Acting Deputy President, in conclusion, there is no fair share for any state. There is enough for all states who can demonstrate that they are competitive and in a position to deliver the best possible
Thank
capability
you,
for
Senator
Western
Reynolds.
Australia.
The time for your contribution has expired.